Over the last few years, comedian Katherine Ryan has become a familiar face on our television screens with her appearances on Have I Got News for You and Never Mind the Buzzcocks, as well as her Netflix show The Duchess. The 39-year-old also notably went on Who Do You Think You Are? And the journey back to her hometown in Canada had a big hand in reshaping her love life. While back home, Katherine reconnected with her high school sweetheart, Bobby Kustra, after 20 years apart. They first broke up as teens because Bobby wanted to focus on his sporting career as he played American football when they were together in high school. However, after bumping into each other at a pub, sparks between the pair reignited and they rekindled their romance in the town of Sarnia, Ontario. A few weeks later, Bobby visited her in London, and 8 months after that, in September 2019, they married in a civil ceremony in Denmark, because Katherine says it was cheaper and easier there. She also told Jonathan Ross she didn't want to have a traditional wedding as she was no longer a virgin. "It was a lovely day," she told the ITV star. "It's perfect having a civil partner. We didn't have a wedding, I didn't need to put on a white dress and pretend to be a virgin, that ship has sailed." The pair lived together in a huge house Katherine previously bought in Hertfordshire so that her daughter Violet could have a pony, and so they could create a home for their family. Before this, they'd been living in a tiny flat in North London and were all on top of each other. Katherine opened up candidly about her relationship with Bobby to the Mail, saying she doesn't think of herself as a romantic person, but her daughter thinks the couple is gross. She said, "My daughter always says we're gross together, so we must be romantic. We're not making out in front of her, we're just affectionate. But I say to her, would you rather grow up in an angry house? We just love one another all the time. We never row. It's quite creepy. I would love to say lockdown tested our relationship, because I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of utopia, but it didn't at all. Bobby's just my favorite person." But before meeting Bobby for the second time, Katherine had almost given up on love entirely after some bad experiences. She claims she'd been vulnerable in relationships before and things had gone wrong. "It sounds like such a cliché, but it was only when I wasn't looking that I managed to bump into love," she told the Mail. The star also admitted she initially tried to resist her feelings for Bobby as she was such a fan of her independent life. "But everything was just so easy between us, and Bobby genuinely fitted in around both me and my daughter, he was an asset to both of us," she added. Katherine also spoke about her second chance at love with Bobby on The One Show in 2022. "Bobby, I loved him. He was the quarterback of the American football team at our school and we went to prom together," she said. "We split up because he needed to concentrate on football and I was devastated. Then 20 years later I randomly saw him in a pub in Canada and I just loved. I've always loved him." It sounds silly to say, but since telling our story people have got in touch and said, "I've always loved my high school partner. I feel like your life when it's ahead of you makes very little sense. It's a mystery. But when you look at it in reverse you had intuition about things." Since then the pair have had 2 more children of their own, a son named Fred and a daughter named Finna Grace. And Katherine has admitted she is open to having endless babies. She made an eye-catching appearance on the Chris and Rosie Ramsey show, where she made a candid admission about her sex life with Bobby. We're 40, we're married and we're very patient with each other, we communicate and we've lived these lives, but we have these FG infants, she joked. I think we're good parents and we're very privileged, but it kicks the living st right out of you. She was then asked how often they did the deed after getting hitched. Not very often, she confessed. I log it because I'm always trying to conceive. Day to day we're back and forth about having more babies. I will never allow him to get the snip. I just really love kids. Look, I'm 40 this year, well see.